Good
Good
morning. I
morning.
sort of cut you off there. I apologize about that.
It's all good.
All right. So today's topic, I'm just taking you up here as always. So where we
No
go, we are
worries.
done there. All right. Hello and welcome everybody to the Dark Roast. I'm here and you can see my beautiful co-host Roast is Rose Roast
Roast?
is also here with us. And today we are going to be talking all things traffic. Now, mostly our focus is going to be on what is it? Like what are the different kinds? Because I think when we think traffic, we just think numbers and that's it. But there's so many different ways to get those numbers. And those numbers and how you get those numbers really is dependent on the type of business that you're running and where you're at in your business. So,
Yes. Traffic can be what tells you if your offer is good or not, too. Not necessarily good, but if it's being told correctly. So oftentimes, like we as creators, I've talked about this before, we know what we're offering and we know it's fantastic, but maybe we're not explaining it properly. And so if you're getting a ton of traffic, but you're not getting anyone jumping on it, it's probably because you're not telling the story right.
that's right. And it also lets you know whether or not what you're putting out there is compelling because maybe your
Mhm.
traffic is low, but you're reaching, like you can see in your analytics that, your reach is pretty good. People are viewing it, but nothing's happening with it, then that's a good possibility. Again, people are watching your reels and they're dropping off at the 3-second mark. That's again information saying the traffic is there, but it's not actually grabbing anybody. So
Yes. And of course, Reels is a great example of organic traffic. So a
yeah.
lot of beginner marketers will talk about organic traffic. It's kind of a double-edged sword because yes, it's free as far as money, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of just being on social media all the time. Which if you're already that person, that's great. If you're like me and you don't enjoy being on social media for hours out of the day, it can be extremely taxing. But it is a good way to start getting your brand out there and maybe start making some sales before looking at paid traffic.
And the other thing about the organic traffic does provide, especially for people who are new, um, besides building that know, like, and trust, it's really helping you define your message a little bit more, and figuring out who your audience is. So, because
Yes.
a lot of times when you first start out, you don't necessarily know all that information. And so that's going to help you figure that out. Like, if people are responding to you that you're like, but you're not really my market, then that'll help you tweak your message more before you start investing financially into it.
Yeah, and one big error that I see a lot of times with beginners with organic is they'll do the follow for follow. And that's really going to hurt you in the long run because you're going to end up following all these accounts that you're not engaging with. They're not engaging with you. And then it's going to screw up your algorithm because it's not going to know who you're actually wanting to talk to. So don't
Yeah.
fall for those traps.
Yeah, it's the same with buying followers. I mean, it really doesn't help you because if you're not engaged, engagement is the thing that you want. Whether they're just engaging with your content or they're engaging by going and looking deeper into what you're offering or buying what you're offering, even like that engagement is where you want it to be, because engagement, especially on social media, that's where they're going to promote your stuff more. That's where they're going to pump it out more. And that's where you're going to end up with followers who actually want to follow and pay attention and have information and all those kinds of things. So yeah, it's not about the numbers. It's definitely about, the engagement process. Good
Yes.
morning, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey.
All right. And so yeah, like it's free, but you're going to have to learn a lot in terms of what that means because it's only free financially.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you might want to learn how to batch and all those kinds of things. The next type of traffic we have is direct traffic, and that's people who literally, like, if you have a website, they just type it directly in and they go boom right there. That is pretty low on the list for affiliate marketers, but not necessarily if they see your program or they see you talking up maybe your mentor, they might go and type in that information looking directly for that program to see the reviews outside of you, right? And so that can be okay. But yeah, unless you have like maybe you are a drop shipper or something like that, then that might be a direct link for you because that is another form of e-commerce, right? That's another form of internet marketing is having a drop shipping business or whatever. So, I mean, it does count. But
Yeah, or if you build out an email list, right? So like let's say that your niche is health and fitness, but you don't really have a product yet, but you're still building that interest list. Then as you start finding health and fitness products and whatnot that you want to go ahead and promote, you can start putting those into a drip campaign, an autoresponder campaign, and that would also be considered direct marketing or direct traffic.
Direct traffic, yeah, because you're sending them directly to your site or whatever it is that you want. So that's, yeah, and that's a really good way to, get some more traffic. But again, that requires you to really understand who your market is and building up that know, like, and trust. It's always about building up that know, like, and trust. So.
Oh, yeah.
So social networks, we already talked about. Referral traffic is another one. And that's basically people clicking links from a different site into your stuff. So like from a blog or your YouTube channel or something like that, where they pop on over because they saw the link and now they want to know more information. And that can work really well, especially if the content you're providing is informative and has value, then they're going to want to click through. And if you provide really good stuff, maybe somebody's dropping the link to your blog or your YouTube channel. So it's like a double referral, right? You're referring your products directly from your stuff, but they're referring your information, which is then going to pull people through, which is kind of a nice and neat little way to really get that traffic. And at the same time, you've already built that trust because now people are sharing that knowledge. It's always fun to see your stuff getting shared by other people. And not your silly reels, but your actual value posts, so the information that you're trying to offer, that's always cool.
Yeah, and collabs are a good way to do that too, right? So with my Ice Wellness program, I had a guy reach out he's a fitness person. He's like, hey, do you know anybody who needs, a fitness coach or anything like that? And I was like, well, not off the top of my head, but we could do some fun collab stuff. And then like my stuff will reach your audience, your stuff will reach my audience. And so that's a social media form of referral marketing that depending on the follower, how engaged you are with your followers, how many followers you have, et cetera, and same with the other person, can really up your sales or just your community in general.
Absolutely. And that's sort of like into the social media, that's the influencer marketing, right? That's another way to get traffic. Whether you are utilizing influencers or you yourself are an influencer. And I mean, that takes time to build up that influencer account. But as we've mentioned before, a lot of brands are moving away from the big influencers and going down to the micro influencers because people just feel more personal to them, right? They can see Sally, trying on some leggings and, she's got a normal body and, she's got the body of, hundreds of thousands of women and she's putting them on and she's, making her jokes and she doesn't have her fancy hair and whatnot. People are more interested in that because they feel like they're not just being sold to. So that's, that makes a difference. And I think that's why the micro influencers are starting to really be helpful, a great way to get some traffic. And like you said before, there is a site now that really helps you connect with micro influencers. So
yeah.
Yep.
And then of course paid traffic. So this could be from paid promotions, can help pay for that. But paid traffic is fantastic. That's of course your ads. If you're running Meta ads, Google ads, or you can do direct to your link traffic with Udemy or solo ad providers like that. There's a fair amount of websites out there as well that, you pay a monthly subscription and you give them your link and they just drop your link wherever they're dropping all their adverts. And it's kind of a Russian roulette of whether or not the link will get clicked or not. So there's lots of different ways to do paid traffic. Paid traffic can be very, very good. And I think if you're trying to scale, you really do need to incorporate paid traffic because you're going to reach a point where organic traffic just taps out. But you got to be really smart about it too.
Yeah, I know. And you got to figure out what it is you're trying to do with it, right? Like if you are somebody who's selling a product, okay, or you have a product-based business, online business, you're more likely to want to do that paid traffic in places like Google, where people can search, or on TikTok, where you're getting that stuff out there. Facebook is a great place to build more. People get to know you. You can do your webinars and stuff like that. And people that's a good place for that kind of thing. So, and also, no matter where you want to do it, you have to be sure your niche is down solid, and B, who you're trying to talk to, because you will waste so much money if you don't know who your actual ideal person is, or ideal group of people is. Like, it doesn't have to be one person, but within the spectrum of this, because if you don't know that, you might as well just take your money and set it on fire. Yeah. And you don't have to go crazy either, right? Money wise.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you do have to remember though is the algorithm has to learn who to put it in front of, right? So you can do as much hyper targeting as you want, but you're probably going to end up actually hurting your chances of sales because the interests are just very, very broad, right? And a lot of people don't look at interests beyond their niche. So it's really more lucrative just let the algorithm figure out who to put it in front of. But that does take an amount of spend, that takes an amount of time, that takes a lot of data that you do need to get, and that does require ad spend. So typically your first $500 to $600, you're probably not going to see a return on because the algorithm has to figure it out. And the information's always changing. So, what worked 2 years ago doesn't work now. One thing I found out recently was the new privacy laws that Facebook has to follow has really made their targeting with ads difficult because they can't gather as much information anymore. So if you're going to run an ad, like before it was, make 10 different versions of your creatives and test 10 under one ad set. And now the advice is no, make 3 max per ad set, because otherwise your money's not going to get put correctly to disperse. It's just going to go off of a hunch basically. And if you've got 10, it can't correctly disperse. Whereas if you have 3, it can disperse a little more evenly, and it's a lot quicker to figure out what's working and what's not. So Facebook ads, Google ads, you got to stay on top of the trends really heavily.
Oh yeah, always. But I think anything that you're going to put money into, you should be staying on top of it, right? You're doing an investment. And I think that that's really important to understand when you start putting out money for ads. It's an investment, just like when you put money out for education or you buy into certain products, it's going to be an investment. So make sure you do your research. Make sure you understand what it is you're doing. And if you don't, have somebody help you in the process, because that could be an investment that will save you money in the long run. Yes, you're putting out money at the beginning, but it's going to save you money in the long run. Basically like people who hire marketers, right? in businesses, the marketers are always the first to go. And then they're like, why aren't we making any sales? Gee, I don't know, because you trashed the department that's actually getting you the money. Yes, it's going to cost you in the upfront, but their job is to make sure that you have money in the long run. So, and that's the same for, when you're an individual, it's the same process. You're going to have to invest some money to make some money. So,
yeah. And it's always scary. I wouldn't say jump into Facebook ads right away, but if you have, if you're getting good organic conversions from your affiliate landing page or whatever it is you're working on, go ahead and test a couple solo ad providers and see if that works. Now, like I personally, I have a few solo ad providers that I like, but I don't tend to go solo ad because I've just not seen a good return on it. But that's just me personally. I know other people who have seen fantastic returns on solo ad providers. So you just got to kind of test to figure out what works best for you, and don't be afraid to interview, and don't be afraid to say no. I mean, solo ad providers are one of the biggest organic marketers right now that I've seen on Facebook, which is great. But oftentimes they do not take no for an answer, which I understand. Like battling objections and all that kind of stuff. But I'm the kind of person that if I told you no 3 times, I'm blocking you. I don't care. So,
yeah. Overly attached girlfriends. No.
right.
Now you did touch on email marketing, but that is a great way to get your information out there. And if you're building an email list, you don't, like you say, you don't necessarily have to have a product right off the bat. It's nice if you do, but maybe you're sending out a newsletter, or something like that, where you're building up that information, or you're providing some micro bits of information, like micro educational information over a span of 4 or 5 days, and then you do another or whatever. That also allows you to maybe expand your, especially if you're in affiliate marketing, to expand the different things that you are providing, as long as they relate to each other. Like one day you're not selling pots and pans, and the next day, you're selling some other crazy thing, right? Like it just, make sure that it all makes sense. But yeah, it's a great way to do that. And then that can get people to any links that you want to send them to.
Mm-hmm. As long as they're opening.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, that's all about the compelling content, right? You got to go back and figure those things out. So, every step along the way is building in another process. And don't be afraid to do testing on any of these, especially, especially anywhere that, okay, if it's free, if you're doing a free form, by all means, A/B test away. You can test covers, you can test your opening lines, your subject lines, if it's email, all of those things you can easily A/B test without any struggle at all. For your ads, you're going to want to test as well, but you're going to want to be more strategic about it, just because it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then kind of hand in hand with paid ads, paid search is a good one too. So we've all seen it when you Google something and the first 3 things that come up say sponsored. It might not necessarily be exactly what you're looking for, but it's companies that have paid to show up top of Google's list. Anybody can do a paid sponsorship that way, or paid search that way. I would say just definitely make sure that whatever it is you're selling is converting before you go down that route, because that is a good way to lose money fast, as it generally costs more than just the normal ads.
Well, yeah, and if your keywords are strong, it might be super useful. But again, I find that some things are more product driven and some are more digital, and better for that. Like Facebook's better for a lot more digital courses, that kind of thing. Whereas Google and that kind of sponsorship is definitely better for the physical products. If you have a store of some kind where you're selling things, or you're affiliating for actual physical items, I find that would be probably a better place. Not that they can't cross. It's just that the purposes of them become a little bit different. If you're product based, Google is definitely for more selling, bringing people to your store, because you can have pictures and that comes up in the shopping area and all of that, and which is really cool because you can get there for free. But Facebook is really more about people trusting you as a brand versus what you're trying to sell. But TikTok is about both. So, you just got to make sure you know what you're doing. Again, always the research, right?
Yes. And then, of course, offline, right? So if you're passionate about what you're doing, you're probably talking about it. You should have some way other than, online to share whatever it is you're doing, or share your link, right? So like not necessarily a business card, although Popple is great because it's electronic business cards. You can put all your social links, your stand store, all that kind of stuff there. But even just, your Instagram algorithm, as long as your bio has a link to whatever it may be, talking about what you do is a great way to get people interested. Like if you're at the dog park at, 11 o'clock every morning, eventually someone's gonna be like, are you always able just to be here instead of at work? And then you can start talking about how you do affiliate and digital marketing and you're not, stuck to somebody else's schedule. So
Yeah, and
don't
like
rule
this
out that power.
absolutely. And Bitly has, I know that you can, when you do your short links, you can actually create a QR code now.
Mm-hmm.
So you could literally create a QR code. So you just, it's like your portable business card.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit easier, right?
Popple has the QR as well.
Yeah, I'm sure there's tons of them that do. You just have to figure out which one you use most, you're most comfortable with, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's up to you. A lot of things in marketing are very personal, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're personal to who you are and who you're trying to reach. Like I know for myself, when I go to a restaurant, I freaking hate scanning a QR code to get a menu. No, just give me a physical menu. What
Yeah.
if I don't want to try and read it on my phone? It's too tiny. For other people, yeah, they love that. They don't have to worry about the menu sitting there or being a pain in the ass. I get it's more convenient for the restaurant, but I don't care.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that one.
You can also do bot traffic, but I'm not, like that is a form of traffic, but really I wouldn't utilize it as a traffic source. Just because it's not going to really help you in the long run. It's going to affect other things, especially like your algorithm, especially if you are trying to build up your know, like, and trust and build up your organic engagement and all that kind of stuff. I feel like bot traffic can be an issue for you. It might be okay for numbers, for places where numbers are the biggest thing to get you ranking or whatever. But again, if it's not value traffic, it's just going to be a problem in the long run. So while I know it's out there and, we'd be remiss not to actually say it's out there, it's definitely not something that I would promote personally.
Yeah, same.
That
kind of wraps it up.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, whatever kind of traffic that you're going to go with, I mean, I will say start with your organic traffic, just because if you're new, getting comfortable with that process, getting comfortable with reading your analytics without having to invest a lot in that process. It also, like I said earlier, helps you figure out who your audience is. So all those little things, that's where I would start. But like Rose, once you are growing and you're figuring out some things and trying to, tweak certain things, going the paid route is definitely where you want to go once you've leveled up to that point, right? So
yeah. Well, part of the reason I go the paid route is because my whole reason for starting an online business is I don't want to live online. I don't want to live on my computer. I want to be out with my dogs, which sounds really counterintuitive, but it's completely possible as long as you put all the right systems in place. So that's one of the reasons that I go paid ads as well, because
and you're
I
doing
have
it
my
the
own
right way
offer that
too,
yeah, I have my own offer that I'm offering as well, not just sending ad
to somebody else's thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, this isn't for an affiliate situation. This is for your own products or your own store kind of situation, your own trainings. And so you've leveled up to that point where it's important that you are able to have that more direct connection. And again, you're doing it the right way. You are actually having people who specialize in this. You've interviewed, you've done the things that you need to make sure that you're reaching the right people.
yeah.
Not just throwing money out the window.
Well, and one thing that I've learned is, again, like it's, a landing page. So the first couple ads that I ran didn't really convert, and it's definitely my landing page. And part of that problem is I live in the cold therapy world, and so I tend to assume that everyone knows what the heck I'm talking about. So I've had to really like it's been beneficial getting people outside of just marketing in general, but also outside of the cold wellness space to be like, I don't really know why this is important. And that's really helped me step back and restructure and go, okay, well, if I didn't know anything about this, does this make sense to me? Which is super important because, like I said, we tend to get stuck in our own world and just assume that everyone knows what we're talking about. So it's
That's why
been
you never
pretty good.
proofread
I mean,
your own
I'm
work.
still making I'm still making tweaks. I've got 4 different tests running with the landing pages right now. The main thing is, and this is where I struggle because I'm not a patient person. When you are tweaking, don't tweak 30 things at once because you're not going to know what finally worked. Tweak here,
Yeah.
tweak there, like do
And
it
then be
slow and steady.
patient and twitch while you wait.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the whole traffic thing, I know we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, because Jonathan Montoya, you've done some stuff with him as well. He is running a traffic challenge, I guess, and it's free. And I know that's coming up on June 3rd. So if anybody wants any more information about that, I know there's going to be 12 different speakers who are basically killing it with traffic and sharing insights and information. So if that's something that anybody is interested in, by all means, please drop a comment or reach out to Rose and I, and we can give you access to that. Hi, Jill. Thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate it. And I think that is it. I don't know what we are going to talk about next week. I'm sorry. I haven't really thought about it. It's been a week. My
It has been a
eldest
week.
has been a million things today. My stepson, he's been everywhere this week, so it's just been nonstop running around. Mom's taxi's been busy. Yeah.
Next week might be interesting as well because I'm not sure that I'm even going to make it. And if I do make it, we will have to contend with the dogs because I'm getting kicked out of my office. So we'll figure it out then.
Yeah, we'll give you a heads up once we know. It's been, like I say, a crazy weekend. Even if you're not here, you'll still be here in spirit. So.
Fair enough.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this week. If you are catching us on replay, as always, please drop a hashtag replay in the comments. And if you have any questions or want to know anything, reach out to us. And if there's something you'd like us to talk about that we have not covered, by all means, feel free to drop it in the comments and let us see what we can do to serve you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye.